1359 through the air, 9 touchdowns for CeeDee Lamb. 68.8% catch rate, also a career high.
The Cowboys basically ask him to play every position. This dude can just do it all and can win at all 3 levels.
Look at the release.
There's your separation.
Great route.
Stutter and go. Gets by clean.
That is unbelievable.
Maybe the greatest catch I've ever seen.
CeeDee Lamb is a player that you've been incredibly high on throughout his entire career. I've always appreciated your takes on CeeDee Lamb, even though early on in his career I didn't fully agree. But man, last year he really stepped up, took a step forward. 156 targets, 107 receptions, his first 100+ reception season under his belt in his young career. 1359 through the air, 9 touchdowns for CeeDee Lamb. 68.8% catch rate, also a career high. This is a guy, Matt, that I don't think he beats you with freaky athleticism. If you look at the route chart for CeeDee Lamb, any route that requires snap at the stem or the top of the route, that's where CeeDee Lamb is good. He's so snappy, man. And that's where he creates that separation.
Yeah, breaking back to the football, right? Comeback routes, curl routes, stuff like that. He's so good there. The thing I've been most impressed with, and I think this is kind of the crux of you and I's, I wouldn't say disagreement, but back and forth on CeeDee Lamb throughout the course of his career, is like, where should he play? And the Cowboys have really, and I've actually had a chance a couple times over the last year to talk to CeeDee Lamb about this. Like, I think the thing that is most under the radar about his game is that the Cowboys basically ask him to play every position and like learn every position. And, that's really hard. And like, not just learn every position, like be a majority X receiver or a majority flanker receiver on a moment's notice. It's like, oh, Michael Gallup's going to miss time. You have to play, whatever. Like Amari Cooper's going to miss time. You have to go play in this role. Noah Brown or something, you got to go play in this role. So, which I think sometimes I wish they would just like settle him into one spot and kind of let him go to work. But listen, I think it's a credit to his game. In 2022, Lamb spent 41.9% of his sampled snaps on the outside. 51.1% in the slot. He was alternating between X and flanker when he was outside, but he did spend a ton of time in the slot and he was really good in that role. Over 80% success rate versus zone the last 2 years. Like you said, especially if you're going to be a slot, you want to see that. But this is also a guy who's been at 76.8% success rate versus man, 75.6 each of the last 2 seasons, 76.9% against press in 2021 and 78% last year. I mean, like this dude can just do it all. And can win at all 3 levels. But yeah, you're right. That stuff in the intermediate range, digs, curls, comebacks, outs, curls, is like, that's some of his best stuff. And really, he did have a fantastic year last year.
Yeah, he was awesome, man. And again, I'm not knocking the guy's athleticism. Obviously, a great athlete, but he just doesn't overwhelm you like Jamar Chase, for example. Like he doesn't overwhelm you with that athleticism, especially over the top. If there was an area where, okay, maybe he's not the best. It's the 9 route, the post route didn't chart out that well in those 2 areas. So he doesn't necessarily, like I said, overwhelm you over the top. But golly, in the NFL, the intermediate routes, that's where you make your money. That is where NFL offenses thrive. If you want to score some points, you got to be good in the intermediate area of the field. And that's where CeeDee Lamb is an absolute stud.
14.6% of his sampled routes were post routes. And that was the only route where he was below the NFL average success rate. And that was actually true in 2021 as well. And I noted this in the profile. It's interesting because, he has that low success rate. I'd actually be curious. Like in terms of success rate for reception, perception, how often he gets open. And yeah, there are plenty of times where, and it's a podcast, so I'm going to do stuff with my hands that nobody can see. But, there are so many times where as the slot receiver, he runs that deep post route and then the middle linebacker, carries him up the field in like a, Tampa 2 type of situation.
Yep.
And while CeeDee Lamb is not open on those plays, but that middle of the field, the flats of whichever side he's running from, I mean, those plays are wide open. And like, why do you think Dallas always has like a tight end who's weirdly productive?
I was
right?
just about to
Like
say, yeah, Dalton Schultz
Yeah,
just eating right there.
that's the Dalton Schultz
Yeah.
hitch route, you know.
Let me ask you this. CeeDee Lamb, I just looked this up, about 50%. You talk about his, wide and slot splits. And about 50% of his production last year came on the outside. About 50% of his production came while lined up inside. It's such an interesting number because that's generally not how it works in the NFL. It's something that you've harped on many times that, hey, listen, playing inside, it's almost like a different position. It's like inside linebacker versus outside linebacker. You just got to have different skills, man. Inside wide receiver versus outside wide receiver, especially in today's NFL, very, very different. I guess it's just the NFL in general, just such a different skill set. Is CeeDee Lamb, in your mind, the most versatile receiver in the NFL? Because he just does so much.
I think so. Like I said, what he does in terms of being like an A-level player at X, slot, and flanker is pretty unheard of. It's really rare that in terms of the versatility, what he does and the separation that he can get on a full slot route tree, on a full X route tree, on a full flanker route tree. I mean, that's what really makes him such a unique player. I agree. Like he would certainly be among that conversation in terms of, the most versatile star receivers in the NFL right now. And it's what makes him such a dangerous player. And I think even more like, I'd love to see Dallas get him the ball in space even more, because he has like great after the catch skills. You're not a Kadarius Toney type of overwhelming athlete, as we've mentioned, but a physical player, a real dog in the open field for sure. Even if it wasn't the best move for the Cowboys to move on from Amari Cooper, there was personality stuff and off-field concerns with Cooper. But part of the reason they did that and felt comfortable doing it, like moving on from a proven high-end starter Amari Cooper, was they were betting that CeeDee Lamb was going to take this jump, not just like be a number one receiver. I mean, his RP profile last year would tell you he's a number one receiver, but like jumping to superstar status, that they were comfortable with that. And I think the way that he did it most was his physical play, which, by the way, like if you're going to play in the slot, like you have to be physical, because you have to have to be willing to block. You have to be willing to deal with like the trash of zone coverage. You got to take hits over the field. And my guy CeeDee gets blasted. I mean, blasted with some big hits too. And I think his after catch physicality was always present, but career best 80% contested catch rate, career best 78.4% success rate versus press, 85th percentile. That's really the area to me where I think CeeDee took a step from, like I said, good number one receiver, which he already was heading into this year, to now like superstar status player.
His success rate versus press coverage, 78.4% success rate versus press coverage, which is, by the way, guys, that is very good. That is very, very good. 85th percentile score for CeeDee Lamb against press coverage. Matt, for a guy who is, I think, more known in the NFL as a skinny finesse receiver, I was really impressed by that score in 2022.
Yeah, I think that goes to show you his agility, foot quickness off the line, but also like, again, I know I say this every episode, like about some guy, but like he's got to be in the conversation for one of the best route runners in the NFL, CeeDee Lamb, not just because he has a mastery of the slot flanker X route tree, like I just mentioned, but he's so good off the line. He is such a good press coverage receiver. And yeah, I mean, we're talking about his press coverage score is up there with Devontae Smith, another skinny receiver. Shout out to the skinny bros.
Working in the slot too opens you up for some more layup throws too, and just getting the ball in their hands, certainly will help. But yeah, no, the fact of the matter is though, and I know I say this all the time, but it's like, yo, in the NFL, you want to score some points, man. Like you got to get a good X, Cooper Kupp, be damned. I'm just saying, like, and by the way, the Rams got great production at the X receiver spot. Okay. I'm just saying Cooper Kupp obviously opened it up for everybody else. But you got to get production there. On the boundaries. And I'm just so impressed by CeeDee Lamb, man. Like his ability to work inside, outside, that would mess up so many football players, but not CeeDee. The guy's just thriving everywhere. And it's been so impressive. You move him all over the formation, man. And he's doing big things. So that's really good. By the way, I just love the fact that, again, they've got CeeDee Lamb. Okay. But they still bring in Brandon Cooks. And this is a wide receiver room in Dallas that I think is very, Very strong.